Welcome back to 5 Minute Drum Lessons, where we get it done in 5 minutes or less. On today's agenda, accented patterns, playing them well, and using the paradiddle as our main example. So, this is just going to be a quick little video, I hope, about accented patterns and just a few tips to make sure you're practicing accents well and getting the most out of your practice. So, we know what accents are, right? And so we'll go straight into our paradiddle. And I've already talked a little bit about using the Moeller movement, so I'm not going to get too much into that right now. But what we're thinking mainly is, okay, when you're playing an accented pattern, no matter what it is, you want to create a big contrast between the accented notes and the unaccented notes. The more they contrast, the better. Well, you don't want to be. Don't be extreme with it. An accent should be a solid, firm note, but it doesn't have to be with all your might. If you're going with all your might, there's a reason for that, and you're doing it in an appropriate context. But just generally speaking, a nice firm note is great. You don't have to put your whole, try to break the stick or anything. So we're doing our paradiddle, and we're thinking, okay, I want a nice solid accent without being too over the top about it. And the other notes, they're happening way down here. And so you want to keep the unaccented notes pretty quiet, maybe just a tiny bit more than a ghost note. If you were playing a groove, however you play your ghost notes, around there, or maybe just a little tiny bit more than that, and that's all it's going to be. And the way you can practice that is have your sticks just, an inch or two above the drum head here, or the pad, and then you go accent. And as soon as you play your accent, try to control the rebound so the stick stops right next to the other one. And this is the height where you're going to play the rest of your notes from. So you try to control that rebound and get right back to where you started, and then play the other notes from there. And you can practice this slowly, of course, as always. So you're lining them up after the accent, so then all the other unaccented notes will be even with each other, because that's going to help keep a nice sounding rhythm as well. So those are a couple things. Start here, try to control the rebound, and play the rest from there. And then as far as controlling the rebound goes, that's just about keeping your fingers wrapped around the stick at the end of the stroke. If your hand's open, it's going to bounce. And sometimes you want that. Sometimes you want your sticks to bounce, and when you want them to bounce, and you want to open your hand up a bit. But if you want to control the rebound and keep the stick low after the accent, you have to keep the fingers wrapped around in close after the stroke to control the rebound. So that's all you do. Just make sure your fingers are in close to your hand, not squeezing, but just the position is a closed position. And that's going to really help control the rebound, keep your sticks lower after the accent, and that'll contribute to your overall speed. Because if you're playing up here and all your unaccented notes are here, and your hand's kind of open, it's hard to get that going fast, and you don't have a big contrast between the accents and the unaccented notes. And so you want to create that contrast. And that's pretty much it. The last thing I'll say is, because there's a Tony Williams clip that's kind of floating around out there online where he talks about holding from the back of the stick and talks about these two fingers and how he has them wrapped around when he plays, and he sort of plays from the back of the hand to keep it more controlled, plays a little bit more from the wrist. And I think that's a great thing to think about with this type of exercise when you're trying to control the rebound. Think about Tony Williams and holding from the back of the stick, and if you can seek out that clip and watch it, it is very interesting. The only thing is to keep in mind that maybe you don't always want to be playing like that. Sometimes there is a benefit to loosening up a little bit, depending on what you're playing, what the rhythms are, and what you're trying to accomplish. So don't get too attached to any one thing all the time. There's always exceptions, and there's always a time and a place for various techniques. But for this one, for controlling the rebound and working on your paradiddle, I think the Tony Williams play from the back thing is pretty instructive. So thank you for joining me. I hope you got something out of the video. Any questions, let me know. And see you on the next one.